What was it that was distinct? What made you say, "Oh, something is here. It's happening"?
Ah, good question. The ex took early retirement, uh, and the I was the work continued on. My work continued on. I was
Right.
working, and given the kind of work I have, um, between February and October, I'm pretty slammed. Um, and so, again, two hands to clap. Maybe I was part to blame. I was spending a lot of time at the office, but she was not involved with work. She was at home more often now. So she's alone at home. I'm at work. I come home late. And uh, the remarks, not negative remarks, but, hey, you're working late again.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're not working. I'm working. The bills got to get paid. Yeah, you're getting Social Security. I think she got started getting Social Security early at 62. Uh, and it was allowed at that time. I think it's a little later now, but anyway, Social Security ain't covering the mortgage. Social Security ain't covering, and plus we got to save. And the complaints got steadily more. And then it was, you're coming home late and you're disturbing me and I can't sleep. So maybe you should use the upstairs bedroom so I can sleep.
Hmm.
Okay, you see the progression, the gradual is not like today and tomorrow. It's just a gradual move out. And then I sensed something was happening. I couldn't change it. Again, the bills had to be paid. Um, weren't at all destitute, not at all. Everything was great. But I, again, as an accountant, was saving for the future.
Right.
Because remember, I'm going to maybe retire. Haven't thought at 72, haven't thought of that yet. But at that time, I'm thinking, listen, if I retire or get sick, let's say I get ill, because two of the people I worked with, a CPA who was my partner and a tax attorney who I worked with, both have passed away and both were my age
Mm.
at that time. And so I'm thinking, listen, man, if I get ill, that's bad. If I die, okay, well, that's fine. But if I'm ill and I need care, I need to have some money in the kitty so I don't draw down on my retirement, which I want, or my savings. I want my kids to get that, right?
Right.
So I'm working just to pay today's bills and save. But that didn't work because now it's only one income coming in. And so she's home all the time spending money more now because remember you have more time, which means you're spending, but nothing negative. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just that you're home more, you're out with your friends more,
Yeah.
you're spending more.
Logically.
So someone's got to pick up the tab,
Yeah.
and that's when it started, a gradual progression towards the other side.
Did
And
you
I saw it.
did your spirit know? Like, did you feel it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and a big one. Oh, here's something that your anybody listening, especially a stay-at-home mom, needs to keep very close tabs on. This happened to me. Um, I was very open. Also, the very last day I was open with finances. I didn't have a separate bank account. Everything was in one drawer labeled with the bank account numbers, etc. And I only found this out as we got closer to the divorce. One bank account got completely wiped out,
Oh, okay.
completely taken. It vanished. Two bank accounts. One was about 30K and one was about 50, 60K. Gone. That's something that's about 80K. It came out in divorce and it was too late to rectify it then because it was cheaper to not quarrel about it with
Right.
attorney fees,
With attorney
etc.,
fees.
and to make other adjustments, which were done. But all of a sudden, two accounts, 130 and one, I think about 50, 45, 50, vanished. A stay-at-home mom
Uh-huh.
that has no idea about finances, that can happen, and that can happen without her knowing.
Yeah.
because she doesn't know. She has no idea there's money that's there, and that money can vanish. It might have just one signature, or here's another thing too: um, a bank account with her name on it, even though it's a joint account. So those are the things you got to, or all of a sudden. There's money to be spent not for you, but for new clothes or a new car or one of those things. So those are subtle signs that you're gonna have to watch out for.
Yeah. But all of that came out inside of the disclosures, right? So when you're disclosing, because what's something that happens if you don't know and you're listening is that when you do a divorce, you have to disclose every single
Yes,
thing
sir.
that you own, property, everything. I mean,
Yes.
all of it.
Yes.
So did that come out inside of the disclosures?
Yes, because I knew about those two bank accounts, and all of a sudden, those two bank accounts, as I said, I had folders for each account, and we had several accounts, IRAs, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I went back; those were liquid accounts, and I went in to look for those folders, and they were just not there. And I said, "Man, I know I labeled it."
Mm-hmm.
And they were probably in fact, the cabinet's right here next to me. They were all in a filing cabinet. I remember the second drawer right up front, bank accounts, IRAs, kind of split up,
Yeah.
and at the divorce, naturally, joint accounts, I had a list, she had a list, and so I'm going down the list and I say, man, where are these two accounts? And those accounts were gone. She finally had to she had to go and see her brother who was ill in India, and all of that. Well, that's $80,000 not used to spend on
No.
that, and again, it got to an issue where it was easier and less expensive to let that money go and get it in a different manner, which is what I accomplished.
Got it.
But I found out about it only because I knew about it.
So to address what happened, all right. So on the accounting side, you knew that it was better to just, it's like, all right, I'm going to
Yeah.
save more in attorney fees. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to let that go and I'm going to renegotiate. But as on the human being side, what did that feel like? The betrayal or the surprise?
Talk about a violation.
Yeah.
Talk about a violation, especially when I was always in 42 years of marriage. I never had a separate bank account.
Right.
I think it had to do with the way my mom and dad grew up in India. It was just an open thing, it's nothing wrong. It's just cultural difference.
Right.
In India, at least where I grew up, it was a joint account. Everybody, you get married and two become one. You don't have a separate account. I recognize that here we have in certain situations, we have a different mindset in that, and I know several clients that actually literally come to do their taxes, and half the taxes fee is paid by the husband and half is paid by the wife. And I'm talking about this on more than one occasion. I literally have seen a husband and wife come in and each has their own checking account, and they split the tab. Let's say it's a $500 tab. She gives me $250, he gives me $250. So it's a different mindset, and so it all depends on how you run your family finances. However, when it comes to divorce, all that comes together and you got to disclose everything, So in my case, everything being joint, no separate accounts, credit cards are all the same, joint accounts. She did have her own credit card, which I got, and I paid the bill, by the way. And that's so that, which is fine. I had no problem with that. I wanted her to establish her own credit. I'll give you, remind me in case I forget to address this. But it was definitely a violation because, I expected, maybe I would not have seen 80,000, maybe I would have seen 60, but I mean, all of a sudden the two accounts just vanished, and it's like, I know this folder is here and now it's not.
Yeah.
And it came out in discovery, let me go back to the credit card issue. A wife, again, we're using a wife, really should set up her own credit line. I've seen more than one case where a divorce occurs, no job, no credit card. Remember, it's a joint credit card. You're starting from scratch and you don't know anything. So set up, at least have, even if it's a small amount, have a credit card and learn to use it and have it paid. Even if you had to have your ex write the check out, at least you know how much you're spending. You have an idea about budget. Because man, I've seen so many situations where they were out on their own, and they know how to use a card, a joint card. They don't know how to pay the bill.
Mm.
Because they don't take care of anything. They just run a house, which is an amazing job. It's a huge job to run a house with a kid or two kids, but you have no idea about finances, and then you're stuck out in the world, and you don't know anything. You got to call your friends for everything. You know how to grocery shop, you know how to change diapers, you know how to run a home, you know how to cook. You don't know anything about finances.
Yeah. What do you suggest is a good starting point for somebody that doesn't know? Because like, if you don't know that you don't know this, where would you start?
Oh, start getting involved with finances. This might be a sticky point, because all of a sudden the husband says, "Wait a minute, why? For 5 years, 6 years, I've been paying all the bills. I've been doing everything. I've been running the finances. You got your hands full with the house, with running the shop, cooking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking care of the finances. Are you unhappy with what you got?" And that can be a problem. Well, all of a sudden, because now he's starting to think that maybe once she wants to start something on her own. How come, 5 years later, you want to run finances? You want to know what I'm spending? And so it has to be a very subtle, or a very, I don't want to say sly, but a gradual progression. Listen, I really need to know what's going on. The kids are getting older. I'm going to be, assuming they're kids, I'm going to be writing daycare. I'm going to be meeting with teachers. We could be applying for, if I start working. Well, no, you don't need to work. I'm working.
Mm.
Well, the kids are getting older. They're going to go to school. I'm not going to stay home all alone. I want to do something, a volunteer work, something. But I need to know how to go about this. I need some idea about finances. It has to be a very gradual progression. My suggestion is, at the very get-go, even if you're going to be a stay-at-home mom, take care of the kids, um, start by saying, listen, I want to don't have a separate account, not necessarily, but I want to be involved with the finances. I don't want to take over the finances, but maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, have a little conference and say, hey, okay, we need to save here, we need to cut down here. You can tell me, hey, listen, you need to cut down on spending on certain things, So I have an idea about the finances. So in the event, and remember the old saying, take care of the worst, and the best takes care of itself. So I'm not saying prepare for divorce, and there are people, and they'll take advantage of you if you don't
Agreed.
know.
I know going through my divorce, there was a lot of different steps, and it started with getting educated. And getting educated allowed me to flow through it a lot better, because without the education, it's very difficult to assume things, especially when you're dealing with money and finances and assets and
Yes.
breaking up. And it's an emotional state, so you're not really in control of yourself. Sometimes you're in the reaction, sometimes you're in the creation mode, but for the most part, you're not really in control. It's a very volatile state. Having said that, what are some of the things that you encountered that you weren't expecting inside of your divorce, especially inside of the first 6 months of dealing with it?
This is after the divorce.
This could be after or after. What I call
This was because
the first 6 months is basically when okay, things are gonna happen. Like I'm preparing.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that's a state of mind whether you filed, because there's different first six
Yes.
months, right? There's when you file,
Mm-hmm.
and then like if in the state of California, you have 6 months before you're legally divorced from the moment that you file, and that's considering that nobody contests it, because once you contest it, and then it starts all over again. So for me, it could be you said 5 years prior to doing the paperwork and finalizing, you already knew that the process started. So that could be your 6 months, but you get to choose. Your first 6 months is, I declare the first 6 months when I know, or when someone knows that there is like, this is happening, whether it's now
Okay.
or 5 years from now, it's happening.
Okay. Okay. That actually, okay, good. That I'm glad you clarified that, because, and this is, yeah, this was a gradual progression, as I said. When it really happened, this is crazy. When it really happened was I got served in my office with a client in front of me.
What? So you weren't
Yes,
expecting it, and then
sir.
all of a sudden you
I
get.
was in my office with a client, and the door got slammed. My office manager was in the front office, and I heard this commotion at the door. I could hear the front door opening, steps, and then my door was slightly ajar. It got shoved in, and a guy walks in, and I got a client sitting in front of me.
Uh-huh.
He puts a paper on my desk, and he says, "You've been served."
Didn't even ask you your name.
Didn't ask me. No, he did not ask me my name. I think he checked with my office manager. That's exactly. I know what it was. He called earlier,
Okay.
and my office manager, not knowing, gave him the office address. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So the door slammed open. Had the screen door open. The door slammed open. He walked past my office manager, or he might have said, "Where's Mr. Paul?"
Yeah.
And she might have. I'm sure she was taken aback, and pushed the ajar. The door was slightly, just about an inch wide, in a crack in the door. Shoved it open and slammed the piece of paper on my desk, and goes, "You've been served."
Oh man.
And my client sitting about 3 feet away from me. And I looked at him, and he said, "Man, don't worry about it." I said, "We've all been there sometime."
That's a wrap on another episode of Divorce the First 6 Months. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more insights. Take care.